Hi, and welcome to another episode of pianoTV. So today's video is going to be a quick one. We are just going to talk about another chord that we haven't really touched on yet, and that's the suspended chord. So we're going to look at suspended fourths and suspended seconds. If you're not up to speed on some of the other chord videos we've done, you can check out the major and minor chord video. There's one on diminished chords. There's one on how to invert chords and so on. So I'll just link all that below so you can check those out and get all caught up because, hint, hint, these chords are all going to be used in the next video. So let's get started. I don't want to create false expectations, but I do find suspended chords to be pretty easy to learn and play. They're usually just 3-note chords, which require only one note change from your general major or minor chords. So I think they're a lot easier to figure out than 7 chords. So the two most common suspended chords you're going to come across are suspended seconds, which are usually written like that, and suspended fours. So if you are looking through your music and you see something that says C sus 4, that would be a C suspended 4 chord. So let's decode what that means here. So assuming you're familiar with our basic C major chord, the 3 notes of that are C, E, and G. So if we were to give each of these letters a number, we would give this number 1, number 3, and number 5. Because if you think about the C major scale, this would be the first note of that scale. D would be the second note, E would be the third, F would be the fourth, and so on. So a major chord is generally built on the first, third, and fifth note of a major scale. So if your chord is a C sus 4, instead of playing a C, E, and a G, the 1, 3, and 5, you get rid of that third note and you move it over to the fourth. So the formula for a C suspended 4 would be 1, 4, 5 instead of 1, 3, 5. So therefore the notes would be C, F, G. All right, so it replaces the middle note. And the same thing with a suspended second. If it's C suspended 2 you're trying to do, then you would play C, D, and G, the 1, 2, and 5. So that's not too bad, right? So let's do one more example. Let's take the chord G minor. So G minor is made up of a G, B flat, and D. That would be the first, third, and the fifth note of the G minor scale. So if we want to do G minor suspended 2, all we would do is G, A, D, right? Because that would be the first, second, and fifth. And if we want to do a G minor suspended 4, we would do G, C, D, right? Because that would be the first, fourth, and fifth note. So let's go to the keyboard because we got to look at how these sound. So why are they called suspended chords and what do they sound like? I think suspensions are super, super beautiful. They don't have a third, right? So they have a more open and even indistinct sound. So here's just a regular major chord. This is C major. Here's C suspended 4. See how much more open it sounds? Because it's interesting. You can only tell if a chord is major or minor by that third note, right? Because a C major chord, C, E, G. C minor chord, C, E flat, G. So when you remove that third note entirely and just play the 1 and 5, it has it's just a very open sound. And even if we go and add the second, like in the suspended 2, which has a similar sound to the suspended 4, the chord is still going to have that open sound, that ambiguous sound. Is it happy? Is it sad? You don't know because there's no third. So that's what I really like about it. Suspended chords always have a sense of leaning. So if I play C, F, and G on the piano, C suspended 4, it sounds really unresolved, like that fourth note desperately wants to move to the third. Listen to how pleasant that is. The suspended 4 is tense, and then we move to the third and play a regular C chord and it feels, relaxing, right? Even if we move from a C suspended 4 to a C minor, it still feels like tension and release, even though the release chord is more somber. And actually, I just realized this now, I think that's the opening of Cold as Ice by Foreigner. It goes something like that anyway. So same thing with the suspended second. If I play C, D, G on the piano, it sounds like that D desperately wants to resolve into the third, lean into that third. And that's why they're called suspension chords. I like to think it's because they leave you in suspense. Here's the major scale cheat sheet. There's also a minor scale one that I did, and I'll leave a link to these PDFs below just so you can have access. They're pretty handy. So remembering that our suspended 4 formula is 1, 4, 5, all we would really need to do, if we wanted to, say we want to figure E flat suspended 4 or something, all you got to do is look at the first fourth, and the fifth note of that scale. And E flat, A flat, B flat. That would be your E flat suspended fourth. Say you wanted to do a suspended second, same idea. The formula is 1, 2, 5. Say you wanted to do a weird one like D flat. So you take the first, second, and fifth note of that scale. So those three notes would form a D flat suspended second. So that's really all there is to it. It gets easier to build these scales the more, or these chords, the more you practice it. But I like using the scale sheet as kind of like a way to construct them until you start memorizing them. There's one more chord I want to take a look at. It's kind of closely related to the suspended chord, but it's a little different. It's not as tense, and that's the add chord. So the way this will sometimes look, without getting into crazy detail, would be something like this: C add 2. You could probably figure out the difference just on your own, just by working together what you think that means. It would basically be a C chord, and then you add the second note. So where suspended chord replaces the third note with the previous or the following note, an add just like literally adds it in. So you play 4 notes instead of just 3, and that's all that means. And that's all there is to it. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, just check in the description bar below and you'll have links to all those other chord videos we've done if you want to check those out and get all caught up. Thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, be sure to send it a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you next time. Holy crap, I just dropped my tablet. Everything is wrong!